I had a call with someone this morning, and a very similar situation that happens in all industries, especially it happens very often in the domain industry. And it's this thought of scarcity, it's thought of chasing the client, it's thought of timing, it's this thought of abundance, it's thought of playing the frame and playing your game, and how do you set things up to succeed? How do you get a deal across the finish line? Now, it's interesting, this conversation is not about manipulation. What it's about influence, and it's about how do you influence someone, how do you get a deal done? Now, what happened is that he had a buyer. I can't tell you the industry, but in the end, like, he had a buyer, and he had engaged this buyer for his product. He does like a service industry, let's just say there, and the buyer went dark on him. So this happened right before Christmas, right before New Year's. Understandable. I mean, many people take vacation at that point. But what was not acceptable was the fact that the buyer didn't, like, at least give him an indication, like, hey, I'll get back to you at a certain date. And so what happened is that he was chasing the buyer and saying, hey, where are we at? Like, this is unacceptable. I mean, to go dark on me for 3, 4, 5 weeks is just not how I operate. Now, I get it. He wanted to say that. But the reality was that he didn't set that frame up before this negotiation. Hey, this is the framework on how we operate. Right, here is the way to buy a domain name. Here's the way to use my services. Here's the way that I operate. If you don't like it, then listen, we're not a good client. Now, what happens is that the buyer did come back to him and was like, hey, I was on vacation, and pretty much I'm going to get things in the work, and I'll get back to you. Okay, but it wasn't really along those lines. It was more kind of like maybe, not like sarcastic, but like, listen, I'm the prize. And the thought was, hey, well, what do you go back to him with? Like, do I go back to him and say, nah, this is not acceptable, here's what I want? I was like, nah, it's timing. It's like, this is strategy, okay? This is reaction versus response. This is strategy. And in the end, the timing is not right because in this person's mind, they're still the prize. They still have they're still not motivated to get a deal done. I said, listen, when motivation comes, okay, when their worldview is rocked, okay, because the buyer that they have has another buyer. When they get rocked by this other buyer, listen, the tune's going to change overnight, and then you're in a situation where you can influence them. But until then, you're just not there. Like, what I'd recommend is just drop it. I mean, this person in general is not the best client for you. In general, you got to find a better client. You got to find a better buyer, and this is not what you're going to build your empire on. Okay, you need to find someone better. Now, this happens all the time in the domain space, and it's truly a matter of timing. I mean, I have people come back to me all the time, every single week. Could be 3 months, could be 6 months, could be a year later on a domain name, and say, hey, is it still available? What'd you sell it for? Or I'll reach out to a different one, like, hey, well, is that one still available? What's the price now? And I'm like, it's sold, it's gone, it's off the market forever. Like, it'll never be available. But see, the timing wasn't right for them. Where they were at strategically, what they were doing, and nothing that I can do can push that time and make that, it can really it can shorten that time if strategically an organization just isn't ready to grow and to scale. Okay, if their mindset and the mindset of the founders just isn't ready. Now, I can help that through the conversations, and that's what we do by helping the global view, showing the 7 dimensions. I can help by showing how other people value a domain name. Right, it's like hiring an employee in a sense. Would it provide as much value as one employee? What would it do to your revenue? What would it do to your marketing by creating more clarity with your marketing? Okay, I can help with that process. But in the end, what's your frame? Like, what's the frame that you are going to go to business with? And I think that's fundamentally important. It's fundamentally important because, and I kind of make this comment when I talk to, in scenarios like this, when I talk to people in business, it's like, what would someone who had abundance do? Like, if you were so busy that you didn't need this guy, what would you say? Like, how would you react? Okay? And so often what happens when you're getting going in business and you're getting started and you're just trying to get your momentum going, you're in a position of scarcity. And by such, you react a different way. But get out of that mindset, because that mindset will destroy you. That mindset, listen, we all go through that mindset. Every single person does. And, it's even the most successful people. Like, I look at it like this wave, okay? You go up, you come down. There's going to be times when you're down. And then you got to get back up, right? And you get momentum back. But consistently, it's like, how do you keep that abundance mindset and not go back into scarcity? How do you respond, not react? How do you think strategically? But in the end, like, how do you play your game? How do you play your frame? And it's really a matter of influence. So hope this video helped you. If you found any value, share it up. going over to chriszuiker.com, going over to mediaoptions.com, and check that out. You just got done listening to another episode of .com Strategies. Check us out online at chriszuiker.com and at mediaoptions.com.